General Hospital spoilers for Wednesday, May 21st tease that Christina stands frozen in a room filled with light, yet her heart feels engulfed in darkness. As the words that were just spoken still echo in her ears. The glances from those around her, awkward, avoidant, tinged with pity, only make the truth more bitter. She can't believe things have spiraled this far. Once an ambitious member of the Davis family, Christina now finds herself at the center of a whirlwind of events that have spun wildly out of control. What seemed like small life adjustments have turned into a storm that has swept everything away. She thought she was simply seeking balance, a place in the world she was striving to rise in. But it was her silence, her slow, unstrategic steps, that pushed her into the shadows, where she became merely a bystander swept along by others' decisions. The latest revelation she just overheard, overwhelming in its weight, struck a crushing blow to her sense of self and pride. Political scheming, dark family agendas, betrayal from loved ones. And a twisted version of her role in what seemed like an innocent story, all of it hit at once, leaving her breathless. She no longer knows what's real and what's not. Or who among those she loves is truly on her side. The worst part isn't being attacked from the outside, but being caught in a crisis whose origins she can't even trace. A new string of problems keeps coming, and the more she tries to step back, the more she realizes that her silence is what makes others see her as an outsider, an expendable link in the Davis family power game. Yet amid the confusion, Christina comes to a realization. She can no longer stand still. This event, with its undeniable weight, becomes a wake-up call forcing her to change. She is no longer the young woman living in the shadow of her mother, Alexis, or caught in the crossfire of her sister's conflicts. Christina understands that if she doesn't rise now, if she doesn't seize control of her life in this moment, there may never be another chance. What she needs now is not comfort or belated apologies, but a plan, a bold strategy to transform her position in the family, in society, and in the minds of those who once underestimated her. Christina knows this will require more courage and clarity than she has ever had. She must accept the hard truth. No one is coming to rescue her, no one will hold her hand to safety. She must become the architect of her own destiny. She must rebuild her reputation, not through words, but through concrete action. She must confront Portia, Molly, Alexis, and the ghosts of the past she once buried. She no longer wants to be the hot-headed daughter, or the overly emotional younger sister. She wants to be a voice of power in the Davis family, someone no one dares to ignore or belittle. But Christina also knows that once she starts taking action, there will be backlash. Those accustomed to control won't surrender easily. The secrets she uncovers won't stay buried. She will face suspicion, sarcasm, even isolation from those once closest to her. But this time, she won't run. She is no longer the Christina of years past, fragile and easily shattered when hurt. She has been through enough to understand that real change comes with real sacrifice. And she's ready to pay the price. Christina's plan will not just be retaliation, it will be a deep, transformative journey to redefine her role from the ground up. She will start by resuming her education, building her expertise, and reconnecting with the community she once passionately served. She'll align herself with the overlooked, the unheard, and create a true foundation, where she is the leader, not the follower. She will use her intellect, her life experience, and even her past pain as strength. And one day, when she stands again before those who once saw her as a burden, she will show them a completely new Christina, strong, strategic, and no longer ruled by fleeting emotions. This is not just a personal transformation, it is proof that someone who once lost their way can find themselves again, if they have the courage to face the truth. And for Christina, this is just the beginning. She is no longer trying to survive in someone else's shadow, she is preparing to step into her own light, with a clear plan, a focused goal, and a heart no longer afraid. Meanwhile, Anna has finally begun to implement her plan, a meticulously crafted strategy developed in silence, unknown to anyone. Triggered only by the increasingly undeniable and alarming signs coming from Brennan. For a long time, Anna has suspected that behind Brennan's calm, Polished exterior lies a dark and complex underworld that only someone with intelligence agency experience like hers could recognize. But there's always a gap between intuition and truth, and now Anna has gathered enough reason to launch an investigation. Not through overt actions, but through covert, precise, and incredibly dangerous tactics. At the same time, Mac, with the sharp instincts of a seasoned cop, begins to sense that all of Anna's recent moves are converging toward a blind spot, something that, if left unchecked, could escalate beyond ordinary security concerns and pose a major threat to Port Charles. Mac doesn't need Anna to confess anything, her eyes, her movements, her quiet withdrawals, and the vague tension in her demeanor say it all. What worries Mac isn't just that Anna is diving into something dangerous, but that she's doing it alone. No one's assisting her. No one knows exactly what she's chasing. And Mac's intuition proves right, Anna is stepping into a spiral of new trouble. A hidden realm where every clue she uncovers about Brennan leads to even more dangerous doors. Brennan's seemingly minor actions, international calls, untraceable funds, unfamiliar faces around former WSB locations, are connecting into a murky network that Anna can no longer ignore. She realizes that Brennan isn't just part of the past, but a key link in a dark chain of plans on the verge of explosion. And if she doesn't stop it now, Port Charles could become ground zero for a large-scale crisis. What Anna didn't expect is the level of insanity behind what she's uncovering. What initially seemed like evidence of espionage now hints at Brennan's ties to hostile foreign organizations, possible coup plots, and high-level political manipulation. Even more chilling, Brennan may not be acting alone. Anna discovers that he's connected to former WSB agents, people she thought had long disappeared or retired quietly. His continued relationship with them suggests he's not just hiding, he's preparing to return with a plan more ruthless than anything she's faced before. Meanwhile, Mac begins noticing abnormalities not just from Anna, but from their surroundings, cyber attacks on police systems, mysterious break-ins leaving no trace, and bizarre intelligence leaks. He starts to wonder whether Anna's dangerous mission is really personal, or part of a much larger conspiracy now in motion. Reluctantly, Mac is drawn deeper into the investigation, not as a bystander, but as a partner burdened with the fear of a crisis they cannot yet fully comprehend. Anna, though composed on the outside, is under crushing pressure. Every piece of information about Brennan doesn't clarify, it only shows how vast and perilous the threat is. She knows there's no turning back, but she also can't ask for help openly. That means Anna must go deeper into this trap-laden web, where a single misstep could eliminate her from the game, for good. And amid the chaos, Anna starts to sense she's being watched. Not by Brennan, but by another force. One colder, more hidden, and possibly using her as a pawn in the very game she thinks she's controlling. Port Charles has never been closer to being consumed by danger from international underground organizations. And Anna, the former pride of the WSB, once again stands as the city's last hope. But unlike before, she has no team, no clear allies, and no time to hesitate. The plan is active. Every piece is moving. And the troubles aren't coming, they're already here. Growing with every step Anna takes deeper into the darkness Brennan left behind. Will she emerge with the truth? Or be swallowed whole by the madness she's chosen to face alone? The most highly anticipated and grand performances of the Nurses' Ball have finally begun, marking a moment when the spotlight over Port Charles shines brighter than ever before. But this year, the atmosphere isn't just glitz and charity. It's layered with complex emotions, unresolved tensions, and secrets simmering beneath the surface, waiting to explode. When the name Jocelyn Jacks is announced alongside Trina Robinson and Giovanni Gio Palmieri, the entire room holds its breath. The arrival of these three young, rebellious, and emotionally volatile figures onto the stage captures the attention of an entire city. Jocelyn, still reeling from the emotional wreckage of her past with Dex, shady choices tied to the WSB, and fraught confrontations with Carly, is using the stage as a way to reclaim herself. Trina, once the emblem of integrity, now carries a shattered heart and deep suspicion toward those she once trusted, especially Spencer, and aims to prove with her voice and presence that she has risen above it all. And Geo, still wrestling with his true identity, swirling rumors about his biological parents. And his sudden place within the powerful Quartermain family, bears the tension of someone newly thrust into a storm of emotion, duty, and legacy. As they step into the light, they're not just performers, they're living symbols of a new generation in Port Charles, fighting their way through the chaos. The room remains silent for a moment, then erupts in thunderous applause. But even in that glorious moment, the buried issues start leaking to the surface. Jocelyn catches a chilling glance from Nina in the back rows. Trina sees Jordan avoiding eye contact. And Geo, for the first time, feels the gaze of an entire legacy-heavy family watching him with a mix of skepticism and expectation. Something is cracking, not on stage, but within their hearts, minds, and relationships. Every lyric feels like a blade slicing through unresolved conflict. Behind the musical perfection lies a cascade of unnamed emotions, repression, rage, and secrets teetering on the edge of revelation. The moment of rupture arrives when it becomes clear, this is not just a performance. It's a message. Jocelyn sings with fierce resolve, as if daring the world to challenge her. Trina stands with unwavering eyes, as though she's no longer afraid of anyone. And Geo, one glance into the crowd reveals the ache of knowing his possible birth parents may be just feet away, yet no one dares speak the truth. What becomes undeniable is the spirit of defiance rising from this younger generation. They're no longer silent, no longer standing in the wings while the adults dictate their futures. They're stepping into the light, using this very public stage to claim their voice and inner strength. And Port Charles can't look away anymore. Parents begin to feel threatened. Those who once manipulated from behind the scenes realize their grip on control is slipping. What's unfolding is a quiet shift of power from the old guard to the new, sparked by a performance that was never meant to be harmless. Whispers race through the backstage corridors. Side glances are exchanged between Port Charles power players, Carly, Curtis, Diane, Sunny, and even those seemingly uninvolved, each now wary, sensing the dawn of a new era. An era where no secret is safe, even in the most secure corners. An era where the children they once deemed not ready are now capable of shaking everything to its core. And when the lights go down and the applause fades, no one can deny that something bigger than music has taken place. Because after this performance, there won't just be applause. There will be whispered conversations in hospital hallways, anxious phone calls, and emergency plans launched to contain the emotional wave that's now sweeping through Port Charles. Jocelyn, Trina, and Geo aren't just performing. They're rewriting their stories. And as the truth threatens to come to light, their lives, and the lives of everyone around them, are about to change forever. The shockwaves won't end on stage. They'll spread. And when the tide rolls through, no one will be left standing in their old place. Meanwhile, Lulu is becoming increasingly obsessed with Lois. And it's no longer vague suspicion or fleeting unease. Now, Lulu watches Lois's every move, every glance, every subtle action as if she's waiting for a long-concealed curtain to finally lift, exposing the truth hidden too long in the dark. She knows Lois is hiding something big, something that could destroy not just reputations but the fragile balance within the family. And at the center of that secret is none other than Geo, a young man everyone thinks they know, yet whose identity is veiled behind a web of lies spun by Lois years ago. Lulu's focus isn't fueled by hatred or jealousy. It's a sharpened instinct, forged from years as Laura Spencer's daughter, from navigating betrayals, schemes, and the blurred lines between family and truth. Lulu senses inconsistencies in Joe's story. Why does Lois always speak on his behalf? Why does she dodge direct questions about his past and his biological parents? And why, whenever the early years of Joe's life are mentioned, does Lois's expression flicker with unspoken panic? For Lulu, the puzzle pieces are clicking into place, and the image emerging chills her to the core. At the same time, Joe's recent behavior only deepens the chaos. His actions are erratic, impulsive, and increasingly rebellious, out of step with what those around him can manage. The fallout is now affecting Rocco, Joe's cousin. A boy who already feels left behind in stories larger than himself. Rocco is crumbling under comparisons, under the weight of Joe's shadow, and now under the burden of consequences he had no part in. School notices. Whispered gossip. And worst of all, Lulu, a mother who once gave up everything to protect her son, must now watch as he suffers from the fallout of a secret Lois has gone to great lengths to keep hidden. This is no longer just a family issue. Lois's refusal to reveal Joe's true identity doesn't just fracture Lulu's trust, it threatens to shatter relationships across Port Charles. Because if it turns out that Gio is not who everyone believes he is, if he is the result of an affair, or worse, a child switch cover-up, then everything falls apart. Dante, who is trying to build a connection with Gio the way a father should, may feel deeply betrayed. Brooke Lynn, who once gave up a child out of necessity, might discover that Gio is the baby she lost. The emotional consequences will be seismic, ripping through the Cerullo, Quartermaine, Spencer, and Falconeri families. Lois, always composed and in control, is beginning to crack under the weight of it all. She knows Lulu is watching. She feels the sharp, deliberate questions. The steely gaze of a woman once dismissed as fragile but now fearlessly determined. Lois realizes that if Lulu keeps digging, nothing will remain hidden. Every excuse, every silent compromise, every so-called act to protect the family's peace will be exposed as deliberate manipulation. And the one who will suffer most is Gio, living under a name and a history shaped by fear and control. This isn't just a story about a secret. It's about control, about distorted trust, and about a mother willing to risk everything to protect her son from a truth that could shatter his world. But Lulu sees it differently. She believes the truth is the only thing that can save Rocco, save herself, and save Gio, a young man trapped in a gilded cage of familial lies. And as Lulu inches closer to the truth, as the carefully constructed walls begin to crack under the weight of her persistence, Lois knows she cannot stop what's coming. An explosion, not just in Lulu's heart, but throughout the family, is imminent. And when the truth is finally exposed, no one will be able to stand still in the storm. Not Gio. Not Rocco. And certainly not Lois. Jocelyn stepped into the hospital room where Willow sat quietly, her eyes filled with a thoughtful stillness, burdened by truths that couldn't yet be spoken. The distance that once stood between them was no longer there. What remained was a silent bond between two young women who had endured too much loss, too much sacrifice, and had been swept into the storms of life they never chose. Willow, calm on the surface, was standing at the edge of an uncontrollable storm. And Jocelyn, with her sharp instincts and hard-earned wisdom from her own life's upheavals, knew that the time for silence had passed. She didn't come as a judge, but as someone who understood how the smallest overlooked moments in life could spiral into tragedy if not seen and addressed in time. Jocelyn offered a few words of advice, unembellished, unsentimental, but piercing in their honesty. She spoke of the need to face problems head-on, to stop avoiding the truth, and, most of all, to stop allowing others, no matter how well-meaning, no matter how strong the love or pressure, to make the defining decisions in one's life. But her advice didn't come from theory. It came from experience, from working undercover with the WSB. From Dex's death, and from the crumbling of her trust in Carly. She knew what it meant for a woman to rise from the wreckage. And more than anyone, she understood how prolonged silence could become a trap that kills every chance for freedom. Willow listened in silence, but her eyes flickered. She knew Jocelyn was seeing something she had tried hard to hide. One of the newest and most explosive issues Willow faced was no longer her illness or recovery, it was the consequences of recent decisions she'd made. Choices that seemed to go against her conscience, or that were made under pressure, possibly from Michael, or from even greater forces she didn't have the strength to resist. The result was a growing blur in which she was both a victim and, in some ways, a participant in the fallout. A mistake. A signature made without full awareness. A seemingly minor action. And now, it had become the center of a madness on the verge of erupting. Jocelyn didn't know the full story, but she could feel the danger closing in around Willow. The avoidance in conversations. The strange behaviors, and especially the loss of vitality in Willow's gaze, all pointed to someone trapped between hidden powers and the truth. Jocelyn knew that if Willow continued to stay silent, what lay ahead wasn't just personal crisis, but the complete unraveling of her family. And this, more than anything, is what was setting the stage for one of the greatest shocks yet, not because of a single mistake, but because of silence stretched for too long, becoming an unintentional form of complicity. The mounting pressure, from family, from society, and from the very people who claim to love her, is slowly suffocating Willow. No one is truly asking what she wants, what she needs, or how she really feels. They only tell her she must be strong, must forgive, must carry on, and most of all, must stay quiet for the sake of family peace. But inside Willow, all those whispered demands are building into a ticking time bomb. And Jocelyn, the only one brave enough to look her in the eyes and say, "You're being controlled," becomes the one who offers her a glimpse of escape. Still, that escape won't come easily. To break free from her current state, Willow must make a choice. Either continue to endure, allowing others to dictate her life, or stand up, confront it all, and accept the chaos that the truth might bring. It's a decision with no easy answer. But doing nothing will only empower the secret calculations already in motion, set in play by those pulling strings behind the scenes. People who see Willow as a tool, a shield, or a sacrificial piece in games far beyond what she's prepared for. Jocelyn left the room, but not with relief. She left a warning, not about who's right or wrong, but about the price Willow would pay if she kept choosing silence. And when the door closed, Willow felt the air around her shift. The room was no longer safe. She knew the time to choose was almost gone. On one side lay false stability, on the other, the crashing wave of true freedom, but with it, chaos. And now, one more wrong choice, even just one, could cost her everything. Because this time, no one will shield her, no one will speak for her. And the truth is already seeping through the cracks of the shell she's tried to maintain. And Jocelyn, with her brutal honesty, had just placed a ticking bomb at the center of Willow's already fragile world.